Hello and welcome to tonight's training session on bottlenecks. My name's Andy Crook and I'm taking the session. So a little bit about me. I run a business called Got Boost in South Wales. And like most garage owners, I had no formal business training before I started my business. So I've spent the last 3 years looking at a number of business topics, and that sort of led me to write a course. It was called the Business of Diagnostics, which I've delivered quite a few times. And speaking to the delegates on that course, I realised that there was possibly a need for sharing some of this information a little bit wider. So that's the story behind why this came about. I've had a few people ask me what the atomic element is. Well, atomic's the smallest particle, or the atom is. And the idea behind this program is small changes. So it's about identifying areas in your business where you can make a small change, which if they compound together, you get a big result. So that's the idea behind it all. So without further ado, let's get into tonight's training. So bottlenecks. What is a bottleneck? Well, the bottleneck is basically the part of your business that is stopping the business from flourishing. Bottlenecks normally occur in the business in one of four areas, and we're going to look at those four areas this evening. The idea of looking at bottlenecks is really to release cash flow in the business. Once you identify a bottleneck and then go take steps to removing it, they don't have to be big steps, hence the atomic idea. You start making progress towards removing the bottlenecks, and massive changes can happen within your business. So once you identify a bottleneck, obviously the next stage is taking action, which is to remove the bottleneck. So we're going to look at the bottlenecks from two sort of areas. We're going to look at the bottlenecks of the business as a whole, and then we're going to discuss bottlenecks from a point of view of a sector of the business. So as an example, we could look at the garage as a complete entity, and then MOTs as an example. So just to give it some sort of context in your own garages. So how can you find a bottleneck? That's probably the thing that most people would tune in and look at. Well, it's not as simple as it first appears. What we need to do is we need to consider what we're trying to achieve, and then why we're not achieving it. This could be goal setting, or it could be simply looking at what you're doing now and why can't you do any more of it. So there are various sort of options on how you work out whether or not your current situation has any bottlenecks. Most small businesses do, and they're down to circumstance as well as things that you could change. So what are the four common areas? The first area is attracting customers. The second area is converting those potential customers into sales. So the first segment that we look at is sales, and we break that down into attraction and conversion. Then we look at delivery, the delivery of the service or the product that you're trying to sell to that customer. And the final and fourth area is collection. So not too difficult, not too complicated. So let's have a look at sales, the first area. So for a sale to occur, you must have won a customer. Now that customer has found your garage in some way. We don't know how. In most cases, they just appear. However, it may be that your garage is attracting lots and lots of interest on the internet that you don't know about. And the problem there is the attraction is happening, but then you're not converting them. And that's a situation that most people are blissfully unaware of, that the people find their website, click on the website, don't do anything from that point on, which meant you have attracted the customer but didn't convert them. Now, much worse than that is not attracting a customer. Now, most small businesses nowadays have a website. They have some sort of Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, whatever your social media presence is. Now, that on its own isn't enough to attract customers. What you need to be able to do is attract customers in a predictable way. And most businesses that are not doing enough sales, which is hurting their cash flow, probably struggle in the attract phase, but they don't know. Much the same way as if they don't know they're not attracting them, they definitely don't know how many they're not converting. So sales are together. Attraction and conversion are often a difficult thing to measure, so you have to put things in place to be able to measure them. So a good way of looking at sales is from the whole garage. So everything that you offer, every service you offer, are you attracting enough customers? Now, that when it comes to conversion, most business owners I speak to think they're amazing at converting their attracted customers into actual sales. Their conversion rate, if you ask them, well, what percentage of conversion rate do you actually have? They say, oh, nearly everyone. Everyone who we contact or everyone who gets in touch with the garage turns into a sale. Sadly, it isn't true. And when you start measuring this accurately, you start to find out that actually your conversion rate isn't as high as you thought. Now, an easy point to start looking at conversion rate, so when you take the garage as a whole and then you start looking at a area, is when you contact a customer to have work done. So we'll go back to the example I used earlier on. So a vehicle's been in for MOT. Okay, you've attracted that customer. They've arrived for MOT. So of all the vehicles that come presented for MOT, of all the ones that fail, so let's say that's 50%, when you phone them for work, how many actually have the work done when you contact them? You're probably thinking, well, pretty much all of them. Start measuring it. You'll be surprised. The actual percentage will be lower than you think. So there's an area where you can make a small improvement and make a large success in terms of just changing your conversion rate. What can we do? There are loads and loads and loads of things you can do to improve conversion. Far too many to go into here, but simple things like making sure everybody says the same or similar things. Something like a script. Now, when we talk about scripts, normally most people go, oh no, I don't want to be confined by a script. But what you'll find is if everyone says the same thing, you can then make small changes to the script and see if they result in more or less conversion. If they result in less conversions, change the script. Go back to the previous one. If you're making more conversions, make sure everyone's saying those things. It's these things that make the big differences. If you don't know what everyone's saying on the phone, then you need to do a little training session within your garage to get everyone saying the same thing. If it's only you that speaks to customers, write it down. Make a mental note or a pen note of what you're going to say and stick to the script as closely as possible, and then change it and see if it makes a difference. Obviously, what we're looking for is positive differences. If it makes a difference in the wrong way, go back to what you were doing before. And it's as simple as that. But conversion is, in most businesses, not just the garage game, is wildly overestimated by garages. So attraction is difficult because we don't know what we're not attracting. However, there are plenty of software programs that will tell you how many hits your website gets. Have a look at your Facebook page, how many hits you get into inquiries. If you do a promotion on Facebook, have a look at how many people look at it compared to click the link. So then once you've got the link, you've got the attraction. How many people go from the link, the attract, to the convert? And start looking at some percentages in those areas and get some numbers and see if you can start improving them by as little as 1 to 5%. You'll see a huge difference in the number of sales that occur from measuring attraction and conversion in your business. The next possible bottleneck is delivery. So if you're doing, and this is a sort of a classic example, if you're doing 10 MOTs in a day and 5 cars are failing, and the average repair job is 2 hours, think about how much work that's generating, but you're only booking MOTs in. Are you allowing enough time for the work to be done? So when it comes to delivery, the car's booked in for an MOT. What is the bottleneck on the delivery? The delivery of the service. For most people, it's a repair of their vehicle. That's what we're trying to deliver. Do you have enough capacity, enough members of staff, enough ramps? Yeah. Do you have the right equipment to do the job? So, do you need special tools, diagnostic tools, whatever it is that you need to be able to repair that vehicle? Is that the bottleneck in your business, or is it parts? Is it parts delivery, correct parts first time? What is it that's holding you back from being able to get the vehicle out in a sort of, shall we say, a slick and professional manner without undue delay? That is the delivery bottleneck. Now, obviously, every situation is different, but if you consider how many, if you look at MOT as I say as the example, if you look at how many, start monitoring how many fails you have, the average repair time, you can start to formulate a plan for how many hours you need to set aside for repairs in a week. Okay, it won't be perfect, it won't be right every time, but if you have a good idea of how many hours you need to set aside for those repairs, you'll have far more happy and satisfied customers when their car's dropped off for MOT in the morning, and you know you've got some time in the afternoon or maybe the next day at worst in which to finish the vehicle. It's something to think about, the delivery bottleneck. The final bottleneck is collect. Now, this one, for us in garage businesses, doesn't tend to be too much of a problem. However, there are times where it can be a little bit tricky. Collect is basically getting the money in, which is the best bit, isn't it, if we're honest? But are you invoicing at the time of the job? Now, if you're a sole trader and you're on your own and you've got a row of cars to do, phone's ringing, it's easy to forget to do the invoice when you finish the job. And therefore, the invoice doesn't get done till the following day, which means it doesn't get sent maybe till that afternoon, which means you don't get paid maybe 2 days after you completed the work. Or the vehicle doesn't get collected, it's almost a collection and a delivery bottleneck, in as much as the service isn't being delivered, as in the vehicle's not being collected, because the customer doesn't know it was finished yesterday because you haven't invoiced it and you don't want to let the vehicle go without being paid. So if you're a slightly larger business, collection can be a problem if you're doing trade work. People often send the car, collect the car, you invoice, and they have terms. If your terms are 60 days or 90 days, consider reducing that to 30 days. It's a really, really simple, small, tiny little thing to do, but it will remove the collection bottleneck 30 days or 60 days in your favour. The final collection bottleneck is finance. Do you offer finance? I know it's a sticky subject for many garages, but it's an option. If you have jobs that you can't convert, go back all the way back to the beginning, because the guys or girls that with the vehicles can't afford the repairs, yeah, it might be an option. Interest-free finance. So they're the sort of the four areas of bottlenecks within a typical small business. They're either you're not attracting enough customers, you're not converting those customers, you're not doing the work in a reasonable amount of time, or you're not collecting the cash in the right amount of time. If you think about it, if you get all of those things lined up smoothly, cash flow increases. Now, it's not easy to do. So if we think about the entire garage, as I said, and you're trying to attract customers, just general customers, it's very, very difficult to refine your process. It's very, very difficult. However, if you break down what you offer in the garage, so do you offer servicing, MOTs, as I said, repairs, just general repairs, how do you attract those customers? If you break it down into everything that you offer is into if you think about that as a funnel, a customer funnel, how do you attract that work? How do you then convert? How successful you are in converting? You can even look as, is that work profitable? Is it jobs you can do quickly? Can you deliver on those types of work? So if you think about MOTs, if you're attracting more MOTs than you can do, you have a delivery bottleneck. So if you can do 10 in a day and yet you're having 15 or 16 inquiries a day, of which you're able to convert 12, but you can only do 10, you have a delivery bottleneck on your MOTs. So do you need to not try and attract as many MOT customers and spend a bit of time attracting servicing or repairs? It's this sort of thing that the bottleneck is designed to get you thinking about, and that's what we're talking about today. So the other side of breaking it down from just having, I'm just trying to get customers, as in specific customers, is when you look at what is the most profitable work that you do. Think about the collect bottleneck. Is it worth doing lots and lots of quick and small jobs, turning over the jobs quickly, or is it worth doing bigger jobs? It's impossible to say. Only you know your own business and what suits you. But what you need to do is you need to know. And the way to do that is to measure, report, and then look at what you're doing, and then find where your bottleneck is, remove the bottlenecks, and then hopefully improve your business. Thanks for attending. Has anyone got any questions? If you put them in the comments, I'll try and answer them there.